Donald Trump's so-called UFC event at the White House on June 14th is becoming an utter disaster. You have top UFC fighters calling out the event. You have Joe Rogan, who hosts UFC events, calling out the event. Also, Donald Trump promised there would be 100,000 fans in attendance at this massive stadium they were going to build. Instead, they're building this like small, grotesque structure in the White House where they're now recruiting 4,000 service members to become spectators since nobody actually wants to be there. So they want to use our service members as props, but they only want service members who the Trump regime considers to not be, and this is a direct quote from the Trump regime, to not be fatties. And so they're making specific height and weight requirements if you want to be a spectator and you're part of the armed services. And if you are, quote, a fatty, the White House says you're not allowed to show up. And then they're also making the service members pay their own way to actually attend, which a lot of service members aren't able to do. This whole thing is becoming a massive mess. The Washington Post did a story on it, to which the White House immediately responded. We're like, fake news, fake news. I mean, the Washington Post story is as follows. Pentagon recruiting troops to watch White House UFC fights, memo shows. Internal messages reviewed by the Washington Post stipulate that the military personnel must pay their own way and meet strict physical requirements to be eligible. Quote, you must meet the current waist to height ratio and current physical fitness standard. No fatties allowed is what they're saying. Also, this Trump thing is becoming an utter disaster, where we're now also learning that Donald Trump is investing in the parent company of UFC as part of those 3,800 trades that he does every quarter now. Let's just break down some of the events. Let's just go receipt by receipt right now. First, let me show you Donald Trump from a few months back when he talked about this event, where he said 100,000 people were going to be in attendance. Here's what he had to say a few months ago when he said it was going to be 100,000 people. Play this clip.
Wonderful things. UFC is coming, as you know, in front of the White House with a building, literally a stadium. We're going to have over 100,000 people. And this is going to have a lot of people. I won't even say how many people, because I think it can set a record for racing. It's going to be very, very important. We're celebrating greatness with America.
Well, this is the stadium that they've been building. It looks absolutely horrible. As former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton writes, this is what Trump's done to the People's House. A third of it is rubble. Another third is a cage match. What a metaphor. And then all the MAGA people were like, libs are so accustomed to destroying buildings and property that they have no idea what a construction site even looks like. I mean, look, this is like just an absolutely grotesque thing right here. Let me show you how this was a scoop that CNN got on service members being invited to the UFC event, that it would be banning, quote, fatties. Here's what CNN reported. Play this clip.
And on this very issue of optics, Brian Todd is live in Washington near that massive UFC cage, which is on the White House front lawn, that's being built for the UFC fight. It happens to be on Trump's birthday, which is Flag Day, on the 250th birthday of America. And Brian, you're getting some breaking details about the event there. What are you learning?
Right, Aaron, a lot of anticipation for this event on June 14th. Right here on the White House South lawn, these grounds behind me, you can see where they're setting up all the stands. That archway, that temporary arch there, is a huge lighting stanchion that's being set up. A lot of anticipation for this event. We're getting new reporting now from our colleagues Zachary Cohen and Josh Campbell that senior Pentagon leaders are making lists of service members who they're going to offer free tickets to this event next month. But according to our sources, the tickets will only be given to service members who meet these new military body composition standards. That's according to sources familiar with the process and military memos that our colleagues Zachary Cohen and Josh Campbell have reviewed. One memo it says that recipients are required to meet new DOW, meaning Department of War standards for waist to height ratio, which is, they say, should be less than 0.55. Now, broken down, what that means is that for a male service member who's 5'9" The maximum waist size for that person, if they're going to be admitted to this event, would be 37 inches. For a female service member who's 5'4", her maximum waist size should be 35 inches or less if they're going to be admitted to this event. The Cleveland Clinic lists an average male height in the United States of 5'9", average female height of 5'4". Now, according to one defense official, it says this sends a very clear message to any attendees who want to come to this event, who are interested in attending this event, quote, no fatties. Another defense official said senior Pentagon leaders are signaling their preference for military members who will look good on camera. And that person said, again, basically no fat soldiers would be admitted to this event, Aaron. That's controversial, but also, even though they're encouraging the military to recruit junior enlisted people and junior officers to come and encouraging them to recruit people from outside the nation's capital, they are making military members who want to come to this event and get the free tickets, they're making them pay their own way to Washington, D.C. for that. And as we know, prices for travel, airline, train, whatever, they tend to spike this time of the year. So that could be controversial as well. Aaron?
More from CNN right here. Here's what Caitlin Collins had to say. Let's play this clip.
Tonight, we're learning more about who exactly has made the invite list for President Trump's made-for-TV UFC event at the White House next month. The Pentagon is now recruiting uniformed troops to attend, but not all of them qualify. In the words of one defense official summing up the policy to CNN, they said, quote, no fatties. Memos reviewed by CNN show that the tickets will only be given to service members who meet a certain waist-to-height ratio. A source at the Pentagon said that senior leaders, quote, want attendees to look good on camera during the event. And the source added, basically, no fat soldiers.
Now, as I noted, even Joe Rogan is against this. He says, I mean, look, the weather conditions could make it very dangerous for the fighters. You know, Washington, D.C. is a swamp. It's hot. There are bugs. Like, this is not where an event should be. You know, he predicts it's going to be a disaster. Here's what Joe Rogan had to say.
The White House thing is odd. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of fighting outside at all.
Well, there's problems with it.
And then
done it too many times.
June, and it's DC, and we looked it up the last time, like last year, same day, it was 100 degrees.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
hot as fuck.
And then you add the lights.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the lights.
You add the lights.
Yeah,
that attracts bugs.
I mean, they were talking about maybe using fans. Is that enough?
No, it's not
You
enough.
got bug strips everywhere. What are you going to do? Like, how are you going to stop the bugs? I just don't think that you should compete in a world championship fight in a non-controlled environment.
Yeah.
I think it should be inside an air-conditioned arena. It should be a controlled environment, just like you don't ask someone to do any of that. You wouldn't ask them to play a world championship basketball game outside in the sun. No. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Right? You play in a fucking air-conditioned arena, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I understand the whole thing, and
I get it
it's
too,
special.
Listen,
but it's going to be a pain in the butt.
A fucking roof.
Yeah.
Build a roof. Like, you've got all the money in the world, right? You're doing this. You want to do this for fucking
know. It's not
America?
my money.
It's 4,000 seats. You build a 4,000 seat arena. Yeah. How big is it? Get a fucking barn dominium. Put it in there.
Well, what do some of the fighters think about it? This is what well-known UFC fighter Sean Strickland had to say about the event. Let's play this clip.
Yeah. So if there was some kind of inclusion for fans, it'd be more. But like, you know, just to go hang out the fucking Epstein list, I'm good, dog. I'm good, dude.
And then you have UFC fighter Bryce Mitchell, who's rescinded his support for Donald Trump, and he suggests that Donald Trump is actually the Antichrist. Let me show you this clip. Let's play it.
Hey, I want to let y'all know I'm not with Donald Trump no more. I don't support him. I don't like him. I think he's a corrupted leader. And, yeah, it took me a while to come to that conclusion, but I finally am coming to it. I do not like the guy at all. The first thing for me was he didn't release the Epstein files. They're even acting like they didn't exist. And then, of course, they're sending Israel and Ukraine all of our tax dollars, just like the numbnuts before him did. Putting America last. And now he's blaming the beef farmers for the price of beef. Hey, I'm not biased, man. He talked a good game. He tricked me. I was fooled. I admit it. Okay, now let me tell you how bad I think this is, though. This is really this bad, guys. I want y'all, if you're a Christian, I want you to get into Revelation 13:3, and I want you to read that verse. Yeah, about the Antichrist, about the one who was fatally wounded in the head. Then he was miraculously healed, and the whole world marveled at him and said no man can make war with him. Yeah, I do think that Donald Trump is that beast of Revelation 13:3. Yeah, go read it. Go read it. There ain't another man that's ever walked the planet that fits Revelation 13:3. Then read the rest of the chapter.
Now, Donald Trump's been trying to push this UFC event like every day, in addition to the Golden Ballroom and the reflecting pools and the triumphal arches and Club Rose Garden and taking over the golf courses and talking about fountains and all of these things. This UFC fight is a really big deal to him, but it already seems like it's going to be a complete and utter disaster where, again, not 100,000 people, service members will be used as props. Again, this is not what it was advertised to be. There's really no good championship matches either. Remember when Donald Trump did that weird thing with that DoorDash lady? And he said, hey, you want to come to the event on June 14th? We're going to have an arena built right at the front door. And remember, she's just like, I'm not really sure why I'm even here. Let's play this clip.
And we're not going to stand for it. Yeah.
The UFC fight that's happening at the White House this summer. UFC typically numbers those fights consecutively, but should they label this one UFC 1776?
That's a good idea. I'll tell that to Dana White. I like that idea, actually. I will say I've been involved with a lot of big events. I have never had an event that's had more interest in the UFC fight that we have right at the front door. Right there, they're going to start building about a 4,500 seat arena. And then in the back, at the Ellipse, we're going to have maybe 100,000, 50 to 100,000 people. I guess they're building tremendous stages, and you're going to have massive screens of the fight. And it's a very popular sport. But I have never been involved, and because of the White House and everything. There's a lot of reasons for it. But we're having a fight at the White House on June 14th, and we're going to have an arena built right at the front door.
Wow.
And if you want, is your husband up to coming, do you think? Does he like UFC?
He might.
If he's feeling good, we'll make sure you come, okay?
That would be.
Then Caitlin Collins brought in Donald Trump propagandist Scott Jennings to try to make this seem normal. And I'll show you what he says. Let's play this clip of Jennings.
And I asked the White House point blank, is this true? And I was told, quote, fake news from the Washington Post. So without being in the middle of it, I can only tell you what I've been told by the White House is that there are no restrictions. They are inviting members of the military. They're excited to have members of the military there. And as for these Democrats who are criticizing this, why do they have to be such fun vacuums? This is cool. Teddy Roosevelt had boxing matches at the White House. Donald Trump is the modern Teddy Roosevelt. And I agree with Jamal. When you win the White House, you get to do things at the White House. This is very in line with the president's brand. And it's cool, which I guess is why Democrats hate it.
Do you see where they go with it? They're like, why are you trying to be a cool vacuum, man? This is such a cool thing. This isn't cool. And here's one of my big things that I've been saying about Donald Trump. Trump is a loser. Trump is not cool. And it's frankly a movement of losers who for a period of time somehow convinced the culture, somehow convinced the people that their loser behavior was cool and acceptable. And it's not. These are hateful people who bully and who harm people and who engage in disgusting behavior. And they're often incredibly misogynistic. And it's just a grotesque movement. And we need to call it out. Donald Trump's made UFC very weird in general. Like, remember when he went to UFC 237, one of the more recent UFCs? And by the way, UFC attendance has been significantly down. Do you see what the UFC stadium looks like as well? Where it's pretty empty because there's really two reasons why these UFC fights have been struggling. The ticket prices are super high. No one can afford them. I'll say three reasons. They're set the prices really high. Trump's economy is such that then nobody can afford these tickets because people are suffering under the Trump economy, this Epstein class economy. And then I've heard from a lot of UFC fans that one of the big issues here is that they've made it into like political rallies and people just want to go and see a fight. Like they just want to go and watch sports and not have Donald Trump be all weird about it. Like, remember when Trump would go, he always wants to make it about him. He flirts with the UFC male fighters and he talks to them about how handsome they are. Here, I'll show you. Play this clip.
You're a beautiful guy. Great fighter. Thanks, sir. Put me some more than him win this fucking fight. I'll give you a hundred. You look so good. You're too good looking to be a fighter. You are a silk fighter. Thank you.
Yeah, now here's what the White House said through the Department of Defense in response to that Washington Post article. Sean Parnell writes, another disingenuous Washington Post story. The White House and UFC are generously offering tickets for service members and their families to attend this once-in-a-lifetime experience, not appear as spectators, as Washington Post describes in bad faith. Demands for these tickets are so high that wait lists have been created as a result. Service members also have to meet fitness standards every day they wear the uniform, not just to attend special events. This is not a surprise to anyone unless you are not in active duty. We look forward to rewarding our troops with the UFC spectacle they will never forget in honor of America 250, to which the Washington Post reporter Dan Lamoth, he's a good reporter, he writes, Sean's team, that's Sean Parnell, who's the Defense Department spokesperson, Sean's team failed to comment for this story for a full day, both before and after publication. Then they posted this publicly today. Our story reports that 1, UFC has long been popular with U.S. troops. 2, there's an organized effort to find troops interested in attending because no one else wants to show up to this thing. 3, troops must pay for their own travel, according to several messages from obtained by the Post. 4, there are height and weight restrictions on troops attending. All of that is true and accurate. Have a good one, is what he said. And as this UFC event seems to be an utter disaster and it's completely falling apart, I also want to remind you, though, what we were warning about during the 2024 election when Donald Trump was musing out loud during his speeches about Dana White and the White House joining forces to create a fight league where UFC fighters would battle and potentially kill migrants. Yeah, that's what Donald Trump was campaigning about. Not a single corporate news or news entity covered it but the MeidasTouch network. And we were like, do you hear what this guy is saying? Here's how he was talking about UFC during the campaign. It's so gross. Here, play this clip.
I told Dana White, UFC, do we love Dana White? How good was he at the convention? I said, Dana, I have a great idea. Take your great championship fighters from all over the world, you're champions right now, but start another league, called it an illegal migrant league. And then take the best of those fighters and let them fight. I believe the migrants will win. I think it's crazy. You know, I told that little sort of sarcastic joke. The press went crazy with it. He wants to start a migrant league. He wants to start a migrant league. I was going to
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think about all of this. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thank you all. Have a great one. Hit subscribe. Thanks, everybody. New Meidas merch. Head to store.MeidasTouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.